Hello everyone, welcome to Startup Academy. So, in today's lecture, we shall be talking about a new topic related to your geography. So, the topic name is industries, and in this chapter or in this unit, we shall be talking mostly or we shall cover most of the topics related to your industry unit. And one more thing, it is the basic unit and most important unit for your geography paper or the ISS paper, and the questions relevant to your geography subject, because every year either a question or two questions are actually proposed in front of the examinee so that they can answer, and everything related to those questions will be, you will find them in the PDF itself. So let's start with our topic. We all are aware what industries basically are and how do they work and what all their features functions are. So let's just give it a quick revision, and for those who are starting for the very first time and who are seeing this unit for the very first time in their lifetime, though it is not possible, so for them also it will be a very mesmerizing thing that you will get to learn much, and you will be able to answer not all the questions but few of the questions. So a bit revision is required after the lecture session. So starting with our topic, we have, when we say industries, we say industries like, in a clear cut definition, when we talk about industries, how can we define industry? Industry could be directly defined as, say, an economic activity that is basically concerned by taking in raw materials and giving you the fulfilled amounts, or you say the finished products. So it is an economic activity that is concerned with extraction, processing, manufacturing, and selling of finished products or finished goods, we can say. So this is just the general definition. This, no need to write it, you will get it in the PDF. So you just need to listen. So industries are nothing but they are basically the producing the economic activities. Since they are generally related to your economic activities, so how can we, what feature is given to us by them is that they can improvise our economic growth. They can improvise our economic growth. But the factor that basically affect the industries are, first of all, the most major factor or most important factor that would be affecting is its location. Another thing, what substance it is producing. Next thing would be its quality. And the fourth thing will be relation with customers. Relation with customers. So these are the basic things that are, that you can say that these are basically the factors that might affect the industry and its revolution, and we can say its growth. So how come location? Supposedly there's a place where steel is much more available, so the industry will buy the raw material. Since the coal is more readily available in Jharkhand, so there's an industry in Jharkhand where it can buy coal even very at a very low price. So location helps. How does location helps? Location say, there's an industry, there's an industry in Jharkhand from where it buy coal. So buying coal, that means investing a small amount of money, is very cheap. But the finished product that the industry is giving to its customers, say product, the product that it is giving to its customer is really say beneficial to the customers, And also customers are demanding for more and more products. Another thing, since coal is cheap, it is readily available and it is of good quality. Since all these things are there in the raw material, this is basically the raw material. So the things in the product will be obviously of good quality. And when it turns out to be of good quality, it has more demand in market, which will ultimately lead to nothing but the profit. Profit to whom? To the industry. Therefore, we say that location plays major role. This is how we can say that location is playing major role. Another thing that I said is the customer demand. What if the thing that company is making from coal is something that people over there can make without even spending a penny? So why will customers buy, and why will there be high demand? So instead of high demand, what we will see? No demand. We will see no demand, ultimately leading leading what? Leading to the banning of the industry or closure of the industry, या industry बंद हो जाएगी. ठीक है, तो industry will get out of substance and out of material and out of money. So that's why we can say that location plays major role. What if in the starting period, say example of Nestle we can take. When we take example of Nestle, what color shall I choose? Okay. When we take example of Nestle, where shall I write? Here I can write. Taking example of Nestle. Nestle invited a new product. Nestle company or industry, it initiated its new product, say Maggie. Since it was new product, therefore demand was high. High demand was there. Since demand was high and people were eating more and more things of Nestle, and they actually believed that company, therefore Maggie turned out to have certain sort of radial substance, that is, say, lead was found. Lead was found in Maggie, due to which people refrained from buying it. People refrained from buying it, and after that, the company had nothing but loss, that too major loss. When the company suffered major losses, therefore, after certain investigations and everything, what happened was Maggie evolved out again, and people started to buy Maggie with new Josh. So that's how company evolved, and that we can say that there was something between the customers and the company manager or the company, that another thing or another faith, that the customers actually showed the faith in the company and they started to buy Nestle products again. They only banned Maggie. They never banned, say, coffee. They never banned chocolates and anything else of that Nestle, or juices, or we can say shakes and all those things. Fruity, not fruity, actually, they make cold coffee, shakes, and all those things. So, nothing of that sort was banned except for the Maggie. So, that was nothing but that was the faith that customer showed in the company. So, that is basically the relation between the company and the public. So, Coming back to our industries, we have seen the factors in brief, we have seen the definition in brief. Now we will see how the company can be subdivided further, how the industry could be subdivided further. So basically, we will study about the classification of industries. When we talk about the classification, we say for the very first classification, we have the primary sector. Then the second one says the secondary sector. And the third one is tertiary sector. What does primary, secondary, and tertiary means? We all know that what is basically industry doing? It is taking in raw material. The raw material is being converted into finished goods. This is what company is basically doing. All right. So when the company takes in raw materials and completes it into finished goods, that is what industry is doing. So when we talk about the raw materials that are usually taken up by the industries comes in primary sector. So taking up raw materials, taking up raw materials, and those raw materials could be taken up from any of those, like from marine, from agro. From marine, you can take the fishes one. Examples these are. From agro, you can go for cotton, you can go for tea, and so on. And sorry. And when we talk about the secondary sector, we have the secondary sector. For the secondary sector, what will the secondary sector say? Secondary sector will say that once the raw material has been taken, now we will manufacture the products. Here, manufacturing takes place. What does takes place? Manufacturing takes place. Manufacturing of goods takes place. What will they manufacture? They can manufacture things like um, we can say, if wood is taken, or say if tea is taken, converting tea leaves into actually useful tea, or the tea that we use to make actual tea, or green tea leaves are converted into small sachet, like that. Or manufacturing industries could be like, you are taking the pulp of the paper or rubber of the paper, and then you are converting it into the paper or the actual paper by the vulcanization processes that basically involves the linkage between the sulfur. So that is not your part, but manufacturing, I hope you have understood. Like Nescafe also, agro based they must be, that is taking the things from the agro industries. And what they are doing after taking the things from the agro industry, say they are taking tea from the agro industry, or they are taking cotton, they are taking coffee, they are taking coffee from the agro industry, and then they are converting it into their by adding the useful amount of, or the subsequent amount of additives and the flavorings to that particular leaves, and converting them into fine powder that is ready to use. So like that also. And McCain's we have that use potatoes that comes from the agro industry. So like this you can use. Here we have a mineral industry as well. Here you have mineral industry as well. So mineral industry will give you nothing but coal, steel, etc. Like those things it will give. So coming on to the secondary one we have discussed, coming on to the tertiary one. Tertiary one does not sell any of the good products, and still why are we calling them industry? We are calling them industry because though they do not sell any of the goods, but they sell services. They sell services like banking system is there. They're not selling us goods. Are they selling us goods? No. We have education services. we have education services, we have education sectors. So these are basically the sectors, or could be defined in the small little term, that is the sectors. Sectors like primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. So most of the topic that or most of the things that come from your in your exam is basically from this classification. So you need to know what basically the classification is. So I hope you now know the basic definition, factors, though we will be covering them in detail now, and its classification, which is quite important. You can note it down. And another thing that we have is the location that we have covered. Okay. So coming on to the topic or the PDF that we have. Okay. Industrial geography studies the spatial distribution. Spatial distribution refers to the distribution in space, like the area that we have been provided. That's why the location plays the major role. So distribution of industries, the factors influencing our location, economic and environmental impacts as well. Like if you have a river by your side, therefore that river shall be contaminated by the effluents that are emitted from the industries. Therefore it is quite necessary to take care of the environment while taking care of the family in order to produce large amount of money. So that is the basic thing that one should take care of. Another thing, that is the meaning and the definition of industry. So definition of industry is nothing but the extraction, production, processing, and manufacturing of goods. So that we have just studied. Industries transform raw materials into useful finished products. That is their basic aim, that they are basically doing. Industrial development is closely related to economic development and urbanization. You will be finding that the people in rural areas seem to have less sort of industries as compared to the people living in the urbanized state or the populated state. Why is it happening? Because the availability of the raw materials in these particular areas is more as compared to the rural areas. That's why the development of the industries is usually by the seen on the urbanized state as compared to the rural state. Then we have the examples like steel production, textile manufacturing, automobile production, and electronics. When we classify the industry, we can classify them on agro-based, we have the mineral-based, we have the marine-based industries. Then when we classify them, the size also is also there. Like cottage is there, small scale and large scale. Cottage like producing for just ourselves. Small scale refers to थोड़े बहुत आगे पीछे के लोगों को तो दे देंगे. And when we talk about the large scale industries are basically uh, providing the services, or we can say the goods, on very worldwide scale. So that's why comes the large scale. Then we have the ownership. Ownership would be like public it is, private it is, joint it is, cooperative it is. So there are so many industries, those you must have heard about. Private limited it is, and public limited it is, corporates of those industries you must have heard. So your task would be to name any industry that has private limited after its name, like Amul, Anand Milk, United Limited it is, Union Limited. हाँ. So Amul, when we hear about Amul, it is nothing but Anand Milk Union Limited. So like that you can give examples of cooperative industry and public and private industry. Use of products, like what basic things are there, whether they are producing the basic items, whether they are producing the edible items, whether they are producing the furniture or like those particular things items, or whether they are producing the stationary material. So like this the things depend, or they are producing the building or constructive items. So that also depends. So what are basically the factors? You can mark this important because most of the question could be answered by using only these few points. So first of all, we have the raw materials. Since industry require the conversion of the raw materials to the finished products, therefore the raw materials are to be provided, and providence of the raw materials should be cheap. Therefore we have its location factor as affecting, which says Industries are usually located near sources of raw materials. Labor work should be like skilled or unskilled, both are required. While converting, while synthesizing, while processing, all the labor is not unskilled. Most of the labor is skilled, but things uthana from one place to another, that comes under labor, so that is unskilled because you do not require any mathematics or science or friction, you just require the body force. Then we have the power. Power means electricity, coal, petroleum. These renewable sources must be available because the industry would be having large amount of machines, and those machines require large amount of power. Therefore, the source of power or source of energy must be there. Transport should be there. If the industry has produced most of its items and is not capable of transporting its items, so what is the use of the industry? Therefore, the transportation facility should also be available. Then we have the capital, the finance resources. That means if the industry is producing goods after goods, year after year, but is not having any source of income or is not able to produce large amount of capital, say money is not has not been produced till that date. So there is no use of establishing an industry in such a particular state. Then we have the market, what people want and how big the market is. Supposedly, if you must have watched yeah, that, what is the name of that particular, Shark Tank, if you must have watched. So they usually ask कि market size कितना है, like what is the demand of the people. Supposedly, if you step into the market selling on to the paper, we know that best paper seller in the market is Classmate, another thing is Cello, another thing is Vardhaman, and so many industries are there, and still if you step into that, so you would be knowing the market size and obviously your competition. Then we have the government policies, what all rules are to be learned, what all factors are there, what all treaties are to be signed before actually stepping into the industrial sector. There's also a trick how you can remember. So coming on to the major industrial regions in India, the basic and the major industrial region in India is Mumbai and Pune, where you will be able to see the cotton and the automobile along with the chemical industrial revolution. So this is directly to be learned. Coming on to the major industries in India say the backbone of the industrialization, major centers Bhilai, Rokela, Bokaro, and Durgapur. What is basically the industry doing? Input they just require your raw material, they require your labor, and small amount of input requires some capital as well. That is the input of money, because things are to be bought, things are to be processed, and for processing things are to be bought, and for bringing money is required, and what you actually are getting is nothing but the output or the finished products. Now the industrial policies are there. When we talk about the industrial policies, we have industrial policy revolution, that is 1956, which said that public sector, the industries in the public sector are to be taken care of, because public industries are for the public use and therefore they are the major source of good products. Then we have the economic liberalization in 1991 that actually promoted the private investment into an industry so that new industries could come on forward or come on board in order to enhance the economic growth of the country. Make in India initiative, this is the recent one that we have already discussed about it during our current affair lectures. Then the industrial corridors we have, that is Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor. That means the transportation facility for the industrial cooperatives shall be enhanced or shall be more readily available. When we talk about the environmental impacts, obviously, since we have the large source of income, or sorry, large source of energy, so therefore they would be emitting influence, and those effluents will directly be affecting the atmosphere, the air, and the air that we breathe in is basically very harmful. That's why when we saw the distribution, we see that Pune and Mumbai, along with Delhi and Noida, are highly polluted states or are highly polluted cities. Then we have water pollution, since what happens is large industries are there with so big machinery. So what will happen? the machinery, with constant use of time, they will get heated up and they will get warmed up. In order to reduce their temperature, we take large amount of water from the river, because machinery is large. So we take large amount of water, we throw them on the machines, and then we collect that vapor, sorry, that then we collect that heated up water or warmed up water, and then when we are pulling it back into the river. So what is happening now, we are placing that heated up water, the water at very high temperature, directly into the river without taking care of the marine life that is residing inside the, or that is living inside the water. So that is basically affecting the marine life. Another thing is that oil splitting that we have just discussed in the previous lecture. Another thing will be like basic effluents or polluting effluents are being emitted or discharged from the industries, and they are directly affecting the river body beside the industry. So that could also be very harmful. And related to that, you must have heard about the Minamata disease that happened due to the poisoning, or chemical poisoning led to the Minamata disease. Then we have the land degradation. Mining industries are basically mining of lands, usually degrade the quality of land, and later on it is left barren, so of no use after the work is done for the industry. Then climate change is also observed. Why? Because there is the emission of greenhouse gases, which is quite unbearable. That's why we can see the global warming and rise in temperature of the earth's atmosphere is also due to the impact of the effluents that are coming out of the industries. So these are the PYQ questions for your practice. Coming on to the next thing, similar one. Huh. These are the classification of industries that we have discussed, the factors affecting also discussed, and industrial regions of India. These you can remember if you want to, because there's a table also, that also you can remember. Coming on to the major industries in India, the major industries that are found in India would be related to iron and steel. Iron and steel industries are the backbone for industrial development, because there are so many things in the construction, in the normal thing, or the basic necessities or individualities. These things are basically useful. That's why they are the basic backbone. When we talk about the textile industry, it is referred to as the most oldest form of thing, or most oldest form of industry that has been there in India. So that's why textile industry is important. Textile basically refers to the clothing system. Then we have the automobile industry and the information technological industry. Information technological industries are basically found in your southern region, that is Bengaluru and Hyderabad. When we talk about the cement industry, they are the cement. Cement is basically the chemical that is basically used in the construction purposes of, can be anything like building houses or homes or whatever. So that is also very important. So name a industry other than Ambuja Cement for the cement industry that you can recall right now, that you can comment us down in the comment section. Okay, in this the answers are already explained in brief, what all you need to write, how you can write. So here there are the answers that also you can refer to. So these two PDFs shall be uploaded on the Telegram channel. Link shall be provided to you in the comment section. Till then, keep watching and stay blessed. Thank you.
Startup Academy.